right. Hey folks. So today I want to speak about my routine on Boostcamp, Jack Intellectual. It is the routine which I wish I had access to when I was younger. And it solves a lot of the problems which are facing the intermediate trainee looking to be advanced. There are dozens of people running the program right now on Boostcamp, but there are particularly 5 guys on Instagram who I know who are running it regularly and give me feedback. A couple of them watch the videos actually, so do message in the comments and let everyone know what you've been getting up to. So authenticity. Now, I want to speak a bit about the program. I want to speak about why is a program that I wish I had when I was an intermediate, because it solves some of the common intermediate mistakes. These solutions are inbuilt into the programming. So as long as you just run the program, run it right, run it for the full duration. I've built the routine specifically to circumvent some of the problems which are associated with all intermediate plateaus. So first of all, let's go from the bit of history. So I got onto YouTube about 2021. It's been about 4 years now. Now, one of the features that I started to offer early on was program design. So I would write a program for people who wanted to know a bit more about me. And that worked out really well, because I was new. Understandably, there was less chance of people committing to long-term coaching, but more chance of purchasing a one-off consultation. I still do consultations and program designs, and they're very popular services. And I started to implement some of these concepts back then because they were concepts which I was familiar with for going back 20 years. And they help people. And it was mostly intermediates. It was these guys who were past the beginner stage. So they knew how to lift. They'd seen some gains. They weren't really breaking through to the next level, to the point where they'd walk into a room and people would look at them and go, right, these guys obviously lift. And everybody likes that feeling. It's a good feeling. When you walk in, the broad shoulder look, it says a lot about you, I think. And I think people strive for that look. But unfortunately, it can be hard to attain. So what I was doing was people were paying for a custom workout design, but I was giving them more than just a list of sets and reps. I gave them a whole plan for the next 3 months, 6 months, as well as guidance in a video. And I still do that to this day. And that proved to be very popular. And a lot of those concepts that I used back then are concepts that I've embedded into this routine. Because I know if I can build in programming which prevents people from succumbing to the various problems that are associated with the intermediate plateau, then they're going to gain. So that's what I did. That's the origination of the routine. And since then, I sort of synthesized that into what I call now the Jacked Intellectual, just a funny name. And that's on Boostcamp. So today I want to speak about some of the concepts which are inbuilt within the routine, which mean you can leapfrog over those intermediate plateaus. So let's talk about the very first one, which is the length of the routine. So the routine on Boostcamp is actually a 19-week routine, 3 phases of 6 weeks each, 6, 12, 18, and 1 introductory week at the beginning where you're establishing weights. Now, why is this important? Well, the first reason is one of the biggest problems with the intermediate plateau is people just jump around from routine to routine way too much. They'll do 6 weeks of a program. Things will start to get hard. They won't realize that's not a plateau. It's actually just normal because so far up until now, they're used to quick and easy gains from being a beginner. So they'll change things, they'll tweak things, and it could be just minor things. It might not be a complete change of program, but it prevents them from really grinding on the exercises they've spent all that time, those weeks getting used to, because that's where the magic happens. In getting to the point where you're working super hard, what this routine does inherently built into it is it keeps you locked in for 19 weeks and it prevents you from moving things around too much. There are 3 phases within the routine. So you do actually get a change every 6 weeks, but that is done on purpose. And that is part of the programming, which actually makes it better. So you get just enough change every 6 weeks to sort of help you mentally and keep it fun. But the trickery is it locks you in for 19 weeks on basically the same program with those minor changes to keep you interested and to keep your body stimulated. So that's the first thing, because I really think it's one of the biggest issues with the intermediate plateau. People understand logically that you have to struggle. I think people understand that logically, but emotionally, what I still see is people just switching their routines around way too much. Getting people locked into a routine for 19 weeks, it does a lot. It does a lot to get them gains, but also to teach them the value of consistency. Now, again, logically, they probably do understand the importance, but in practice, it's very difficult to disassociate what you think logically from emotionally your own training. It's one of those things. We always think we are slightly different. We always think we are that special snowflake, when the reality is a lot of times we're just not locking in for long enough. Again, even though we understand it intellectually. So what I will say is this routine, it solves that first error. First error is switching routines far too often. But to do that, you have to stick to it for 19 weeks. Okay. Now, so I totally appreciate the reviews. I appreciate the 5-star reviews. They're great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. But if you're going to leave a review after you've done it for 6 weeks, like, again, I do appreciate it. I get it. I love the sport, but please stick to it for the full 19 weeks. Okay. You will get the most benefit out of it. So the fact that the routine is 19 weeks with small minor changes, 3 different phases, what that does is it takes care of that first contributing factor to the intermediate plateau. It teaches you the value of consistency. Now, the next thing that I see people do is they don't have a reasonable rate of progression. And I think this is one of those Goldilocks and the 3 bears type of situation. You get some guys who are far too aggressive when it comes to adding weight to the bar. They add weight to the bar all the time. They're very, very intense. They really push themselves. But a lot of times, that's not necessarily what you need to do for optimal progress. You want to just stay in that golden zone. You want to keep in the pocket. You don't want to burn yourself out on a week-by-week basis. You don't want to always be banging your head against the wall of progress every session. So what this does, it uses an RIR approach, but a very simple and easy RIR approach, what I call my enforced RIR approach, which I've written about more in the documentation of the program. By the way, I'll say at this point, the documentation for this program is the longest of any programs on Boostcamp, because I really poured a lot of attention to making sure you guys get the right information on how to run the program for the full duration. So just a bit of a segue on that. I do feel very passionately about the routine, and I provided that guidance for that reason. So going back to what I was saying, the enforced RIR approach keeps you a little bit behind, because ultimately what I've seen is I see people make better progress if they're not just smashing themselves into smithereens every single session. And yes, you've got to work hard. But a phrase that I've used over the years is, between all out gut-busting Dorian Yates failure and training too easy, there's a vast chasm of very productive training. Not everything needs to be eyeballs bleeding, blood and guts all the time. And I think what this routine allows you to do is it allows you to stay in the golden zone of gains. The OG Fazlifts subscribers will recognize that term, golden zone. And in doing so, it ensures you're not knocking your head against progression all the time. And in the end, you have more consistent long-term progression as a result of that. So that saves people who are maybe just too aggressive in adding weight to the bar. But at the same time, it also keeps you moving at a good pace. So because the idea is you've got to add weight to the bar when you hit the top of the range on all 3 sets of your markers of progression. So if you're the type of guy who's maybe not so aggressive on adding the weight, so if you're coming at this from the opposite end, you need encouragement to add weight to the bar. It also takes care of you in that sense as well. So it just normalizes everyone. So you're not adding weight too aggressively, and also you're not being afraid to add weight because you have a formula for when to add weight. What that does is it normalizes rate of progression, which is good for both types of people. And again, that's inbuilt within the program. You don't even have to think about it. That's the magic. Just follow the routine as it is. Now, the third thing that is built into the program is a concept which is very, very old school Faz. The idea is you want to have about 3 to 5 exercises which represent the whole body. They are your marks of progression. Because in a routine, you're going to have 20, 25 exercises, right? And they all have a role. In every exercise within your routine should have a role. But there are big exercises which cover a lot of muscle mass, which are better indicators of your overall muscle growth than trying to focus on every little individual exercise. It simplifies things. And also, these are exercises where you typically see more improvement. So, for example, marks of progression could be a weighted dip, weighted chin, overhead press, a leg press, and a deadlift. Those could be your marks of progression. They cover pretty much every area of the body fairly uniformly. Yeah, some bits are missing off, like the calves maybe and the rec fem. You get the idea. If you are able to add 50 kilos, 100 pounds to one of those lifts, you would dramatically change your physique. Assuming similar sets and reps, you would dramatically change your physique. I think anyone would agree. If you go from benching 200 pounds for sets and reps to benching 300 pounds for sets and reps, you're going to look completely different. There is no arguing that point. It just isn't. For some exercises, obviously, they're a little bit more leverage based. So like if you do insist on trying to break the rule by doing a sumo deadlift with your toes out to the plates, yeah, of course, you deserve everything you get at that point, which will not be much. But you know, if you're talking sensible exercises and exercise selection, then you will get a lot from adding weight to the bar. So the way that this routine accomplishes that is every single day you have one main focus exercise. And I've done something a little bit clever with the sets and reps for that exercise to encourage progression at the time and to keep you consistent with it. You'll stick to that one exercise for that one day, the main exercise of the day. You will stick to that for the whole 19 weeks. So that is yet another concept which is inbuilt into the routine, which is going to help you leapfrog over other intermediates at your gym who don't have that guidance. And again, like I love coaching. You know, I wish I could coach every one of you. The fact of the matter is I can't coach everyone. And at the same time, it's not monetarily possible for everyone to afford coaching, which I understand. But just take it from me, this is really freaking good. I'm not exaggerating. This is a really good routine. The guys who are in contact with me via Instagram on a weekly, daily basis are all getting great gains. It excites me because people are getting progress. I'm not even directly coaching one-to-one. And they're getting all this for £15 a month. It's really worthwhile. So I'm going to wrap up there. There are other aspects of the routine, but this video is getting quite long. So let's talk a bit about the actual app itself. Now, I think to view the pricing correctly, you've got to understand it's not just a workout tracker. There are workout trackers. It's not that. What you get is the expertise of, but not just me, but dozens of other coaches for what is about 15 quid a month. Now, most coaches are going to charge you a hell of a lot more than 15 quid a month for their programming. So what you're getting is you're getting access to not only my programming, but a whole bunch of other coaches who are well established in the industry. So let's just explore that for a second. So obviously, I've told you a bit about the Jacked Intellectual, but there are a number of other guys on there who have got their routines who I would vouch for. All of these guys I'm about to name, they all have programs on there. And I know for a fact they're good coaches. They know what they're doing. They're all very sensible. So I'm going to list a few guys off. And again, if you sign up for the app, you'll see all of this. So in terms of guys who I would vouch for who are on there, GVS, Jeffrey Veritas Gertfield. So I know for a fact his programming is solid. He, I believe, is mostly a hypertrophy focused kind of guy, and his routines reflect that. But another guy who's very good is Paris Butler. That is Bald Omni Man. Paris does, I think, a combination of strength and hypertrophy things. But again, very intelligent lifter, very good coach. His routines are on there as well. And finally, I would also say Landon from Basement Bodybuilding. Again, probably more like Jeffrey in that he's more hypertrophy focused. I think that's fair to say. But either way, well-established coach with a good track record. And people talk. Like, I know these guys. I know they're not just like friends of mine. People talk. Like, I've talked to ex-clients of theirs and they're happy with their programming. They're happy with the level of service. So if these guys are putting stuff out on an app, I know it's going to be solid. So after you've signed up, if it's not just mine you're looking for, you also have access to other programs, which are all on there. But again, pick something, stick it out for a while. Okay, like I said. So that's the first sort of feature and benefit. It's not just a workout tracker app. But I think if you're looking at it like that, you're not really giving it enough credit for what it actually is. This app is the first of its kind. You're getting a number of different coaches all in your back pocket for a very nominal fee. Next thing you can do is you can create your own workouts. So if you want a break, you can create your own workouts. You can add modifications to certain programs as well, and you can run that on Boostcamp. And obviously alongside that, you can also track your workouts and you can look at the analytics. It has a very nice detailed analytics function, which works really well. It lets you know what you're doing in terms of volume totals, intensity, all that kind of stuff. So it's good. But as I say, for me, I think the main benefit really is you've got access to just decades of good coaching in your back pocket. So I wanted to do this video because from my perspective, this routine is super. Okay, it solved a lot of problems which are associated with the intermediate plateau. And all you need to do is follow the program for the 19 weeks. That's it. You don't have to understand anything about it. You will actually improve your understanding of these concepts by doing. I mean, I can talk all day long on a camera, but if you do it, you're going to learn so much more. Actually live these concepts. You will understand by the end of the 19 weeks, and please do the full 19 weeks. You will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Commit to it. It's January now. Just commit to it for 19 weeks. That will see you through to the mid-year. I mean, what else are you going to be doing? You're still going to be training, hopefully. So just commit to it. See it out. Right, guys, I'm going to call it there, but I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.